Mitchell has been texted me about a reality show he's watching called. Shit, I'm gonna have to look it up. It's a reality show about hot deckhands, apparently.
Hot what?
Deckhands, like men who work on boats.
Oh, I thought you said decans, like
Hot
pecans with a
decans.
D. I was like, is this slang for something that I don't know?
Welcome to the Rewatchers on the pod. You're holding your breath for the silence, even. That's commitment. And that's what we're all about. Welcome. This is the podcast where we watch TV shows or movies, and then we talk about them with our friends. And you're here with me, Tyler Harris, and...
Tyler McKinley.
Riley Harris.
Justin Hammer.
And our special guest this week, Emma Robinson.
Hello.
Hi. Thanks for coming. Emma brought us The Spoils of Babylon this week.
That sounds really intense when you say it that way.
It really, yeah, no. Oh, sorry. Let me do another take on that. Emma brought us Eric John Rosh's The Spoils of Babylon this week. The long-rumored miniseries from 1978, I'm gonna guess. Sure, around
79,
there.
but it's fine.
Okay, I was close. I'm not, that's why we have you here, the resident Eric John Rosh head, if you will.
Out of all the experts in that field, we chose you to be on the podcast.
Yeah.
So
I am so sorry.
So Emma, why did you choose The Spoils of Babylon?
Well, you know, where to start. So, God, it's so ridiculous. And I love Kristen Wiig so much. I keep wanting to call her Kristen Stewart, so I'm sorry if I call her that. I love her so much in this show. And I don't know how I found it. I think I was scrolling through Netflix and I was like, this looks like a good... Because I gravitate towards very dramatic dramas. Sagas of, family dynamics being ruined.
Wait, is that true?
Rich.
Is that actually a thing that you're into?
I do like those things.
Okay, cool.
And so I was like, oh, this is cool. And so I... clicked on it when it was on Netflix, and I was like, holy shit.
So wait, so you did go into this thinking it was actually a period?
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
I was like, oh, wow.
that's, I mean, so I had no idea what this was, and you sent out the text saying, okay, we're watching The Spoils of Babylon. Immediately my mind was like, oh, we're watching a documentary about priests touching boys.
There you
go. I was like, this is going to be like a really heavy, and
very different from what we normally cover.
And then you started I overheard you talking about it with I don't even remember who you're talking about last week. And then I saw the cover and I was like, oh, this is
amazing.
This is like a drama, what you were describing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, so then my frame of mind then shifted, and then the first scene comes on with Will Ferrell just stuffed with pillows, recreating the wine commercial of Orson Welles, and it gave me whiplash.
That's good.
Alrighty.
Well, great. So for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, of course you need to go watch it, but We're about to spoil the spoils of Babylon and break down every single detail of every moment of these episodes. Here we go. Eric John Roche presents the spoils of Babylon. Peter Parker faces off with that kid who can see dead people. Shots ring out. Spider-Man escapes. He records his story in a super high-tech reel-to-reel. A young boy with no memory is picked up on the side of the road by a wannabe oil man and given several options for a new name, as long as it ends in Morehouse. His daughter plans on being rich and beautiful and powerful and rich someday. Jonas shares his vision for the future over squirrel stew. Cynthia tempts Devin, and they kiss for an inappropriate amount of time for their age. Jonas gives Devin a compass. The bank comes and makes fun of how dumb the Morehouses are. Then they strike oil. Adult Devin and adult Cynthia listen to the government talking to Jonas about his political obligations. Cynthia and Devin almost kiss a lot. Then they do kiss. Then war with a capital W-O-R-E breaks out, and Devin goes to war. If I had to choose one word to describe war, it would be cat house. Devin crashes. Cynthia and Morehouse's spider sense is tingling because Devin is taken as a prisoner of war. The military breaks the news to the Morehouse family while in the same space, location, and time as the Morehouse family. Devin escapes and becomes a war hero. Darren returns home with his new wife, Lady Anne. They make passionate love. Cynthia and Lady Anne have breakfast. Devin and Lady Anne go for a walk while Cynthia gets good at business. Seymour Lunch has created something that will change the world. Eric John Roche outlines the tough conditions that this film were shot under. Cynthia visits Lady Anne and the baby. Eric John Roche experiments with cutting-edge third-dimensional filmmaking. Lady Anne dies in a fire. Devin doesn't understand the actual utility of a compass. Cynthia is running the family business. Apparently, a guy I went to high school with is a character in this movie. We'll talk about that. That's a weird... Okay, anyways. Devin Morehouse has become the love child of Jack Kerouac and Bob Dylan and shoots up a whole lot of heroin. Cynthia finds Devin in apartment number LSD. She helps him kick his heroin addiction. Devin confronts his subterranean drug-sick blues and they create sweet jazz together. Jonas Morehouse is dying. No, really, he's really dying, really. Cynthia and Devin part ways. Cynthia marries Chet and Cynthia gives birth to Winston. Seymour Lunt comes to visit. Cynthia finds out about the water-powered carburetor and has an idea. The military takes care of Seymour Lunt. Everyone who knows about it is killed. Devin goes to the beach with his daughter. Winston is helping to run the family business. Spider-Man and the Invisible Woman work out of a super-secret underground laboratory. Devin visits Morehouse HQ. Devin leaves the company and Cynthia's health fails her. Cynthia's 15-year-old boy attempts to grab even more power in Devin's absence. He's 15 years old. Devin is going to destroy Cynthia with poetry. Eric John Roche has written 13 screenplays and filmed half of them. Marianne is getting a record deal while jet-setting in Europe. Standard comic book flashback. Cynthia calls Devin after he's gotten out of that shower, and he is sitting in that chair Will Smith sits in Men in Black. Submarine ride. Dixie Mellenworth and Cynthia face off. Slap fight. Cynthia issues Devin an ultimatum. Winston does not like this. Winston and Cynthia sit down and have a straightforward talk, and Cynthia tells him that Devin is his real father. Dixie drowns while swimming in the ocean. Winston basically does the same thing that George Bush did in Saudi Arabia, I assume. Morehouse's board harumphs about Winston. Eric John Roche almost talks about lighting for film and television productions. Eric John Roche is going to have a cameo. Morehouse Oil is going out of business. Cynthia finds out about Winston's deal with the Irans and the Snoozies from the Floozy magazine. Devin does some musing about the bargain. Cynthia visits Devin on the beach, and he serves her wine in a glass I can only imagine is normally reserved for a very specific brand of bachelorette party or baby shower. Sex on the beach. Winston hits Marianne with his car. Tobey Maguire has his Oscar moment. Cynthia calls after Devin. Cynthia welcomes a party guest while looking for Winston, the Shah of Iran. Cynthia drops a huge knowledge bomb on Devin Morehouse. Bang! Devin is shot. Tragedy. Winston is shot. Life is short. Cynthia is shot. Devin and Cynthia share a tender moment during her last moments. Devin goes on for a little longer until the Shah of Iran tells him to run and get his story on magnetic audio tape, which he does. Devin wakes up in heaven, which looks suspiciously like the set of some golden age musical lost to time. When the wine is gone, it's time to go. That's the rule. That's it. Those are all the things that happened in The Spoils of Babylon. It's a lot. There is probably more in these 6 episodes than
I'm so sorry.
No, it's very good. Man, let's just start with I mean, this is like an incredible parody, I think, of a bunch of shows I have never seen. It feels so specific and like I don't even feel like it's a normal parody, because at times I feel like it might just be a really good version of some of those shows. Like, there are moments, probably most of them involving Tim Robbins. Is that his name? Tim Robbins. I always want to call him Sean Penn or something.
The non-Freeman Shawshank guy.
Yeah.
the other guy.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, it's so bizarre. It's one of those things where I normally feel like parodies like this work so much better if I know exactly, like, I like to know every moment and like what they're jabbing at and stuff. And this just, it was just a joy to watch without any knowledge of that.
It's so
either.
random. Like, I don't know. These kind of sagas were really big in the 70s and 80s. And then to have like Will Ferrell to be like, oh, let's make this.
Yeah.
You guys ever seen this show?
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
It's so good. Well, and that's, I think, this show doesn't play one of my favorite things, which the only other show the first show I thought of when I started watching this was Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. And like the idea where you have like the author presenting this show that he made all these years ago that's finally coming to light. And it's such a delightful thing to do that. And Will Ferrell's really good at it.
Well, it's definitely reminiscent of miniseries from like I feel like more so the 80s and early 90s, but they would always have like the host every night in some dumbass library. And I remember watching
stupid libraries.
I guess I should say a set that was you should know what I mean by stupid. It's like when I order pizza, I'm like, just don't put anything stupid on it.
That's exactly like
it's anyway, I specifically have a memory of renting the old school short series of The Borrowers. And there's like a host in a stupid library, and he's like, I just remember, the only part I remember is at the end of one episode, he's like, I'm going to leave these out. And he like puts a bunch of shit on the like, counter. He's like, and we'll see if they're here next time.
Amazing.
that's great.
But that's immediately what I thought of. Like, just, like you said, it seems to like use a bunch of different, because I mean, there's Gone with the Wind, there's, the wine commercial, like I said, of Orson Welles.
Yeah, which it's funny because we talked about that separately from you, I think, before, and like,
which is just a strange thing to parody.
Thing. Yeah.
There's parts that are like Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. It's like all over the place. I like was like thinking, I was trying to describe it to my brother or my sister and brother Nick and Mandy, and I was like, I couldn't just tell them what it was a parody of. I was like, it's a parody of Gone with the Wind and about 900 other things not in that genre.
Yeah. I will say, so probably one of my favorite things about the type of comedy they use in this too is like the continuity stuff, which is just insane. And it's like the parts of this that I would describe very positively to someone with the words like, it's so stupid. Like, it's so stupid. Like, they do just the dumbest stuff, and it's so fun. I guess, like, probably the biggest scene for me is after Devin Morehouse has crashed, and fucking Val Kilmer is in this show as, like, one of the best characters, too. Like when they show up and they're having that conversation, and every time they cut to Cynthia, she's in like a different part of the room. She's like in the back corner, or like she's all of a sudden in like Jonas Morehouse's shot, so he's like having to look around her and all that. Like all that stuff is so good. I don't know. I don't know if you guys have
they
any
even
thoughts
do
on
it
that,
in
but,
like the real world stuff with like Will Ferrell. Like
right, yeah.
It's like one shot he'll be holding a wine glass, and the next shot like his arms are folded. But it's like a continuation of the same sentence.
Yeah.
I just want to know how they got from like, hey, this would be funny, to like where they shot it in the movie. Like, I just want to see that process. I just want to see it.
Yeah. Well, because I feel like if you look at something like this, like how is this scripted? Like this can't be scripted the way it has appeared to us. Like there's no way, because there's no way you script the stuff that Kristen Wiig does. No. There's no way you script anything for Will Ferrell at this point. You just turn the cameras on for like 9 hours one day, and then you build a show around it probably. But yeah, I feel the same way, because it's like how much of this is just a bunch of people who are good at what they do showing up on set and just running with it, you know? But yeah, I don't know. What are there any like characters that you guys want to talk about specifically, or moments or anything in this? There's like so many like things from all over that I'm thinking about. But yeah, I've got.
There's a
how
lot. There's
how
a
in
lot.
order do you want to go?
Yeah.
It's like Haley Joel Osment's character was one of my favorites
Let's-
from the
yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
but he doesn't
talk
show
about
up
Haley
until
Joel
later.
Osment.
So okay.
Yeah. He's another one that I will say this show has just tons of people that I didn't expect to see. Like there's so many people that I even forget. I'm like, holy shit, Jessica Alba is in this
Yeah.
show.
It's so random.
Jessica Alba exists still.
Yeah,
is what
she's still- yeah, it's
I haven't
been
seen
so
her in
long.
anything. I'm trying to think of the last thing I saw her in Sin City,
Sin
maybe.
City, yeah.
Oh yeah, I forget she's in Sin City. I forget Sin City is a whole movie and not just like a 15-minute clip of.
So you-
Anyways,
have you,
Jessica
so you've
Alba?
extra forgotten the second one.
yes. Oh man, Ava Green is in that. Anyways, that's all I have to say. But yeah, the stuff with Haley Joel Osment, I think too, like maybe the stuff with Haley Joel Osment kind of mirrors. I don't know. I think they do a fun thing with this show too, where like the stuff with Will Ferrell as Eric John Rosh, I feel like they kind of work into the show in interesting ways. Like there's the time when he mentions that he shot that episode on like mimicking his experience with hallucinogens, and they have the 3D segment in that one. But I think like there's the scene where Cynthia tells Winston, Haley Joel Osment's character, that Devin is his dad, and it's just like the literal same scene and dialogue shot from 7 different angles and cutting to like each performance, which has a different drive and different emotion attached to it, like seemingly with no regard for any like
he does such
shape.
a good job.
Yeah, and it really does feel like, I think that Eric Josh mentions at some point, he's like, I shot 6 lines of dialogue a day. It's like, yeah, if you're shooting from that many angles, like to get these options, I guess like that is what you're gonna do. But yeah, his I do think that's like his character is a great example of like I think maybe the soapier elements, like since I don't have like the experience of like of these like epic sagas and stuff, like there are moments of this I'm just like, it just feels so soap opera-y. And like his whole plot line of him being the actual son of her brother who isn't her brother, which is, anyways, it's like the fact they stopped mentioning towards the end that I had to remind myself, like, they're not actually brother and sister.
Yeah.
But they're just tired of telling people, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I think that I think all that stuff with Haley Joel Osment is so good. And he's really good.
I think his performance is interesting and unique in this show because everyone else, like, I mean, obviously the show's bonkers, but it feels like everyone else, almost when you're watching them, it feels like they're just trying not to like break.
Yeah.
Whereas Haley Joel Osment just always feels on. Like I never
He's
felt
100%.
I never felt like he was about to laugh ever, or not that everyone else like did a bad job or anything, but his performance just feels slightly different, like almost like he took it too seriously, maybe. I don't know.
Like he thought it was an actual saga.
He's like, this is how I get back into Hollywood. Although he doesn't seem to need help. I mean, the last 2 things I've seen him in are The Boys on Amazon. And,
which I haven't watched yet. We were just trying to figure out what.
And he's great in that.
Oh, cool.
So, and he's great in this.
Yeah. Yeah, the intensity of just his gait. There's a lot of him just like ferociously looking at things and like intensely regarding things. And it's always so good.
He goes from like 0 to 100 too in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
With his looks and just how he delivers stuff. It's really great.
Yeah. That scene where he's making the drink and talking to his mom is amazing to me, because it's just like the most asinine business to have to do, and he doesn't like ever let it trip him up ever. Like it's just this seamless, he's pulling a drink that is clearly not the one he made from off camera. Like it's all of that is so good.
So good.
Chopping the spines off a dragon fruit.
Well, and the thing is, we've all seen somebody in a movie like making a drink. You know, that's obviously what they were trying to. Oh, you're gonna make a fancy like cocktail, and it just is so bad. It's good, like how he does it, and all the ingredients, like a cinnamon stick
That he doesn't really mix together at all. He just kind of
Yeah.
salad shuffles it around.
But yeah, it's so good. I mean, I think that's what this show is so good at is like there is they very easily I do like fully believe they very easily could have made just a straight up epic if they just wanted to be like, we're gonna make like this 3-hour thing that's just gonna be exactly like a mini series from the 70s or 80s. Like they totally could have done that. And it's just those moments that they choose to just go absolutely against the grain that are so beautiful. I love it so much. But yeah, let's talk about the two main characters, Devin and Cynthia. 'Cause man, I feel like I love Tobey Maguire in this.
My gosh.
Like he's so great. Honestly, I could not see any version of the show without Kristen Wiig either. Like just the tone and everything they bring to this is so great.
Oh yeah.
And I think the scene that got me that I was like, okay, because I watched this a while ago, also on Netflix, and I didn't really remember it that well. And like, I don't know how, because this feels like something that's right up my alley, but I feel like you have to be in the right like space for this.
You have to be in the right headspace, because if you turn it on and you're not, you're like, this is so stupid.
yeah. Well, and maybe the right headspace is to believe that this is just an epic, like a miniseries that you're about to watch. That's probably the best way to go into this. So forget everything we've said and just go watch it with that immediately. But that scene where they don't kiss for, I don't know, like 20 seconds of just, it's like the most awkward and uncomfortable thing that you could possibly imagine. That was the scene where I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in for whatever dumb shit they're gonna do, as long as it's this, because this is exactly what I want to see. But yeah, that that whole setup. I think the idea too of like weaving in like all these historical moments is like huge in those two, where it's like
the war.
Yeah, the war.
We're going to war. Like, that's all it's about. W-A-R.
War. That's like, that all feels so good. But the scene, another scene I wanted to talk about real quick is the scene where Devin breaks out of prisoner of war prison.
Oh, I totally forgot about that.
There's so much that happens in this show.
It's seriously so much to keep track of. But the as that music plays, as he just ruthlessly just breaks out of Fairview prison.
It honestly, they could have made it out of like Q-tips, and it would have just been the same. And it's like honestly how it looked.
Yes. But just that whole sequence with them, that super close up of his eyes, and then superimposing Cynthia over those, and then music playing as he just mows down the men who have had him in captivity, is like, there's something about it that I feel like echoes, especially like the sentiment of that era too. You know what I mean? In a way that is both like disturbing and also hilarious, because it feels so over the top. Like that idea. That I think that that's another thing this show does really well, is like being able to like put itself in like the shoes of a show that existed in the late 70s, but also setting that up the entire time as well.
And like really dancing on the line of like very problematic like issues. And like we definitely see Will Ferrell in brown face, which is like
yes.
I was like, Japanese aren't that bad. We used to call them Japs back then.
Right, that's right.
They're not too different from us. They're speaking a dog language.
It's just like back and forth constantly, and it's crazy because you have a scene like that, and then the next scene they're like, now he's having sex with a mannequin. It's just, it feels
Where
like
that show goes.
Wait, can we please talk about how the soldiers, after he mowed him down, had tape X's across their eyes?
electrical tape X's.
Just
Which feels okay. Again, that's a thing. That's one of those things that I feel like because they have Will Ferrell and like Eric John at the beginning and end of every 20-minute section of this show, it feels like there's so many great like little things like that I'm like, this very clear. Like I could see that character making this choice as a director, being like, how are we gonna know for sure they're dead? We'll put tape. It's like the X's,
like
you know, how when people
cartoons,
die.
yeah.
Well, and it just goes back. One of my favorite Will Ferrell moments is when he was like, "This episode depicts the war, which was based on my very real experience,
Horrific experience.
yeah, horrifying experience of reading about the war." So good.
After that big cat house in the sky. I think that was the moment that like started to turn me on. Like, 'cause, like the first two episodes I was kind of like meh, and then like the latter, like this, not right before even the halfway mark, just kind of like that war episode to the end. I was like, okay, I think I'm bought in.
Yeah, that gets hotter than a cat house in July up here. Okay, one other thing that I think we need to talk about for sure with this show is the time. They use time so well in this as far as like how long they let jokes go on for.
Oh my gosh.
And one of them is when he is crashing and he has like this long monologue.
And
as
that's
he's
like his
crashing.
thing. That's his thing through the whole series is like these just long monologues of just nonsense, you know? And how do they write that? How do these comedy writers write that like poetic? Like they're beautiful. Read them. They're like Prometheus. Like what?
We were so me and Riley were actually watching this at my parents' house earlier today, and my dad was in the kitchen, and he just like walked in like as that scene was happening, as he was crashing. He's like, "What is this dialogue?" It's like it really is one of those things. Like if you just hear it, if you don't see any of it, you can take clips of this show, just audio, and it sounds probably exactly like you'd imagine. Something
Yeah,
like, that would
like
sound.
something cheesy, old.
Yeah. Well, and then they have the moments. They have the moment like when he reads the inscription off the watch, which was one of my favorite jokes in this entire
It
show.
is maybe the best
Yeah,
joke
It
in
is,
the whole
it is
show.
stolen.
From?
Jerry Lewis.
Oh, really?
Jerry Lewis in Cinderfella. He
Okay.
he gets
good.
his
Oh.
dad gives him a ring. He's like, it's just like father said, and then he goes on to read and rotate this ring for like, and it doesn't end either. It fades out to the next scene because it keeps going.
That's amazing.
But no, I mean, I still appreciate it in this though how they.
It's just a good choice, you know?
Yeah.
What do we need to fill this scene? A long ass inscription on something, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think too that joke works so well because you know where it's going for so long. Like 5 seconds into that scene, you know what's happening, and then Tim Robbins joins in and is reciting it with him. And the
Like
part
in the middle too. Usually it's towards the end people like join in.
just this huge long section, and the part that always gets me is when he's like, "Of the elements, air, wind, earth, and fire." It feels so like ritualistic and bizarre. But then at the end, and then the tag on that joke is subverting that whole idea is that there wasn't enough room to finish that inscription. Like, oh, it's so good, and it really is. This is like one of those shows that I feel like is great if you just want to know, like, I think as a performer, like, so much of the battle is just committing to something, and that's all that this show is like it's just committing to one very specific thing, and the jokes happen because of that commitment, like because the things look different against that background, and it's so good. Even I think another use of that time like is when Lady Anne and Cynthia are having breakfast.
Kristen Wiig in this whole is just one big commitment. Like, oh my gosh, she's just an 11 the entire time.
Well,
perfect.
It's one of those things like Kristen Wiig probably could have been like an amazing star in these type of things. Like she can like pull off this. She's like so likable, but she can be so like just like petty, and like it works so well for her. Like oh my gosh, everything about her is so great in this show.
She's my favorite.
But yeah, just her chopping up the cantaloupe.
And then breaking the plate eventually, and like stabbing
pouring
it.
wine on the roll, and like all of it is so good.
Can we talk about the set? Like,
yes.
There was, I don't know if you guys noticed, there's this tray and there's like cocaine on it, but then it's supposed to be all on Kristen Wiig. It's like a bunch of muffins and like breakfast food, and then like a bottle of cocaine.
It just stops there.
And then it like stops and like
the camera's like
lingers.
trucking sideways and just stops.
And then it keeps going and it's back to like breakfast food. And then a different shot. It's just like a tiny little like tray on her. It's supposed to be this tray with cocaine and muffins on it. It's so good. And like the tranquilizers.
Yeah. Oh yes, yes.
Like after her nightmare.
Oh my god, yeah, all that stuff. Oh, it's so good, and I love, especially like the first. I think it's mostly the first episode, like this whole Dust Bowl kind of idea of them like being out in just the middle of West Texas digging for oil. It feels like that. Like it doesn't. Everything about the production. Like I've said this a million times, but just like everything about that production feels like they were making that epic, and then they just put a bunch of fart jokes in it, essentially. Not like specifically, but like that idea of just like
feels like a more well crafted series than a lot of parodies do. A lot of parodies look cheap. Yeah. This, like, if you just take a screenshot of some of these shots, like, oh, this looks fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are some shots where I'm like, oh, this is a beautiful shot.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm even looking at like the cover of the Blu-ray, like the poster for this is just, it's amazing. Like it's so great. And it feels so much like that.
Can we talk about Mannequin Wife?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Carey Mulligan, Mannequin Wife.
So yeah, he goes to war and comes back. Oh, he gets sent out, doesn't he? Like
No, he volunteers because he needs to get away from Cynthia, right?
Oh yeah, well, so he escapes.
Asked him to go.
He escapes from prison, and then he radios them to bomb, or whatever, and then is part of some rebuilding committee or something.
On the Japanese.
Yes, exactly.
There's like a huge dig towards the British, like, well, British suck.
Yeah,
and he's like, what?
And Britain.
It's our time now. Stupid.
He's gone, and then he comes back, and he's got a new hot wife who is legitimately just a mannequin for no reason.
They don't explain it. They don't explain it.
So I literally just had a gig this weekend where I played. So there's a really famous song called Paper Doll, and the lyrics to it talk about, I'm going to buy a paper doll, and it goes on and basically like, none of the other guys can steal my fake woman. And it's like, that was what was in my head when I was watching this. Like, yeah, there's this.
Somebody
should look up the song.
Like
Paper
a big
Doll.
band era, like
this is a really popular song. Yeah,
Man, it was like weaves with body pillows before they were a thing.
Oh my god, that's that. Mannequins were the waifus of
OG waifus.
OG waifus. Good gravy.
That was probably my favorite gag. That was like. That war moment was the one where I started warming up to it. That was what sold me. I was like, this is fantastic. Which, like, seeing Kristen Wiig argue with a mannequin over wanting wanting to fuck her brothers.
That is another thing. I honestly didn't think about that till now. That is literally what she would have to do in that scene. Like, she's the only one on camera with the fucking mannequin. Oh my god, that's so good.
Which then leads us to my favorite sex scene I've ever seen in anything. Just this weird man on voiced mannequin. Ugh, gross. Like,
It's so
One of my favorite moments of that
Ending
is
of
you get all those close-ups of like the mannequin and of Tobey Maguire, and like there's just one moment where he like seductively like pushes the sleeve of his tank top off his shoulder and is like looking. He's like, oh, like, it's so good.
I mean, you could probably sell me on just like the comedy of seeing just Tobey Maguire in any sex scene, but I would laugh. But the fact that it's with a mannequin, and then at the end, like we pointed out earlier, is just so good. Where he walks away, the mannequin's just in pieces on the bed. Is so good. I was explaining that once again at dinner tonight, and I was like, I was explaining the whole plot, and I was like, oh, and then he has like a mannequin wife, and Katie was like, because she saw the first 2 episodes and she didn't see it, and I was like, oh, we got to that point, like, so good.
So good. I also love the fact that I feel like the fact that you use a mannequin early on feels like, oh, this is going to be like the one-dimensional character that does get fucked over. But she's like she is a full character. Like there is a full, like, she's like petty and vindictive. Like she's like, it's cold in here, but Devin will be home soon and warm me up with his love making. Which, like, also, the phrase lovemaking is used so much in this show that, like, it's just stuck in my head now.
you know, they were in love.
And
Tobey Maguire and Lady Ann York, the mannequin.
They made a baby
They
together.
made a baby
oh my
who was a doll
Yeah.
Grows up to not me.
to not a doll anymore.
Which took me a sec to realize that was supposed to be her. I was like, oh, they're just abandoning the mannequin baby, I guess, plotline. Or I was like, oh, it's probably going to show up in the last episode, and then I finally connected it.
yeah. Oh man, yeah. This I think like this show also, the idea of those epics spanning these decades and like kind of telling the stories of these families, they do that so well, and they like there is also this like reverence for the 60s that's found in stuff of that era that is just like how romantic it, like how great the 60s were, and especially like the Greenwich Village like Bob Dylan shit.
Oh my god.
And like
That he became Bob Dylan.
He
in the
became
show.
Bob Dylan.
that whole, they even do the subterranean homesick blues like thing, like where he had the posters with all the lyrics during his heroin freak out. She's got like those things, those cards and stuff, like but that whole, I think another thing I appreciate about the show is they do just go all in on like doing these long sections of just like, here's 60s avant-garde filmmaking where we're going to flash text on the screen and I'm going to be walking through a smoky haze like near train tracks and stuff like
You won't know where I am, but also
yeah. It's so good.
This was all in black and white too, right? This whole section,
yeah,
the whole thing, black and white.
Yeah, at least all the stuff in the apartment. I can't remember prior to that if it is, but yeah, like all of that.
I know there's a
this
little bit
very, like,
after where
separate
he's still
feeling.
Bob Dylan when his dad dies that it's color.
That's
but
right. Yeah, I
everything
think
else-
the album covers that flash on the screen when
Oh my god.
when they're having sex are all in color as well.
I love all the fake names of like.
Yeah, I have a Blue Note, so I have a book that's just like Blue Note album covers at home, and that was just like I was busted up when I was watching that. Like, this is perfect.
It's just that like the two-toned, like, you know, the color and then the black and like yeah, all those shots and all the titles like making it or oh my.
Eruptions.
I think my favorite one was Almost There. My favorite jazz tune from the 60s. Dizzy Gillespie's Almost There. So good. Let's talk about the stuff with Jonas Morehouse, Tim Robbins. because his stuff is so good.
I mean, who knew he was so funny? I don't like.
Yeah.
All I know is Shawshank. So
oh, okay, yeah.
I'm just the fact that they made his character like a British actor. They're like, and Sir whatever his name is,
yeah.
his stage actor, and then like his first film, he keeps slipping in and out of his Texas accent.
Yeah.
It's so on point. It's not too much, but it's like during the very like emotional scenes or where his character would be very like, I don't know. It's just so good.
Yeah.
When they find the Atlas Shrugged engine and they like turns to the camera.
Yeah.
And he's like, we'll build it. Like that's
Yeah.
the best.
I love, when he looks directly into the camera. What does he say?
Several times.
A gift to mankind. that moment.
A legacy. Like, ugh.
Awesome, so good. And I didn't even think about they do such a great job of setting up. They introduce all of the actors, and that actually is a great thing in the first episode. It does set up like David Spade is also in this.
Oh, yeah, I
we
totally
could probably
forgot.
spend the next 2 hours of me realizing that people are in this. But they have that where they have all the characters and they do like the credits up top, and it has all of their like actors' names and everything. It's so good. But yeah, those moments with him. I mean, even his death scene is like so stupid, and it's like one of those things where I'm like, okay, it's like getting too long now, and then it like comes back. I'm like, okay, I'm back on board for how long this has
He's
been.
like trying to find his light.
Yes. He like starts to die, and he's like, and it's like,
Climbs back on his chair.
so good. But yeah, that scene of him smacking him with this cane too before he dies is just another one of those ones where it's just cutting. Which they have to have just hundreds of takes of that they could then just drop in and cut to all those. So good. I can't remember what I was going to say. The stuff with Tim Robbins, especially, like, that stuff feels so, like, I feel like that goes so far to setting up the epic feel of everything. And, like, the American dream aspect of all of this, of, like, and he's also, like, the absolute, like, altruist. He's like this idealist, where he's like, I don't care about making money, I just want to make a difference, and then of course that's never gonna happen.
No.
Like, it's like also got this very cynical approach to that. Like, it's so good. But yeah, let's talk about some of the other probably what became one of my favorite plot lines in this show is the two military men who are shown in their car most of the time behind us looping background of a country road that just resets every like 45
They're, like,
seconds
drinking
or so.
alcohol.
Yeah.
Like hard liquor.
Yeah. Just while they're driving.
Is the first time
that's-
we see them when they're announcing his death to his
Yeah.
family?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's Val Kilmer and Steve Tom,
Steve, great name.
who's been in everything,
Yeah.
apparently.
Great name for an actor. That just feel like, I don't know if that's a stage name or like
I hope it isn't.
a real.
I hope there's a
real
Tom
name.
family. Like
He's got a Tom wife and Tom,
Tom,
children.
Mrs.
and-
Tom,
Yeah.
Mr. Tom.
Little baby Tom.
Junior.
But that for that to come, that was like one of those moments in this show where I was like, it would like seeing their relationship in the car. I was like, it would be hilarious if this was actually a love story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and they do go there in like, again, like in a way where it's not. That's not the joke of that scene.
Mm-mm.
It's the level of commitment to just being in that moment and like this real emotional end for these characters who don't matter at all,
They
really.
don't. And oh my gosh, it's so funny because I can see Eric John Rosh, like, writing it, like, directing it, and be like, you're in love now. Like, it's so... That's how stupid this movie is. You're like, oh, yeah. That is believable.
Oh my gosh, that is like there is a way to watch this. Like every character is Eric John Ross, really, in a way, like which I also love. The fact that is a name I'm gonna remember, Eric John Ross. Like I can't believe that's just gonna be stuck in my head. What a great character.
Does anybody remember his middle name?
Oh man, it started with a K or something. It's so weird. I can't remember. What is it?
Cervantes?
Yes.
Kurt, yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Lazarus.
We got to talk about all of his weird product placement in this whole show.
Oh, yeah.
Like the vodka?
Yeah.
Oh my...
It's mostly alcohol.
Yeah, it's mostly
all over the
alcohol.
place. We better drink from this, like, spouting off some tagline company.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
It's pervasive throughout.
I will say, I feel like I could talk about almost every line reading that Kristen Wiig gives. Just hearing her say "lovers" as often as she does.
We're lovers.
Yeah, we're brother and sister. We're lovers. Just that is so good. But yeah, there are so many. There's so many moments like that it really does feel like I feel like there's like that. I mean, Will Ferrell, I think, ushered in this era of like comedy in movies where it's like, okay, we're gonna have you like improv like 15 things, and then we're gonna choose
and be
the
totally
funniest thing.
serious about it.
Yeah,
Really commit. No breaking.
yeah,
here.
exactly. Yeah, we're just gonna have you do that over and over, and then we're gonna take the funniest thing and put it in the movie. Like so much so that there are alternate cuts of Anchorman that they've literally cut out every joke and just substituted it with a different joke.
Oh my gosh.
Which is insane. And I think like for a long, like I feel like I got burned out on that after a while, like so many of those movies. And this is a show that feels like it did that, but like because it's couched in all of this like lavish production and like everything else is so like everything feels so intentional. Those performances feel so good. Like even though I know these are probably like it was probably those like just improv like 15 lines and we'll pick the best one. Like it works so well in this, and I think also like Kristen Wiig and Will Ferrell and probably Toby, like I assume Tobey Maguire because his performance in this
He's
is amazing.
hilarious. Who knew?
Oh my gosh, that the monologue at Marianne's grave is like one of the most insane. Like it felt like I was sitting in an acting class again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there are moments where it's like, I don't know. I do a little bit of acting occasionally, and I feel like in acting classes, especially when I've had to prepare monologues, there are moments where I'm like, I'm not fully prepared, but I'm going to perform this in front of everyone. And you get to a moment where you're like, oh shit, the next line I'm supposed to be very angry. Like, way more angry than I have gotten myself to. And so it is just a jump from like, I'm talking... And now, and it's like that happens like 4 or 5 times in that monologue, and it's funny every time.
Yeah.
Like it's so good. God, I love that so much. Yeah, are there any other characters that you guys want to talk about that I feel like we've talked about most of them.
I mean, can we just give an honorable mention to Michael Sheen?
Yes.
And his amazing Southern accent. What was happening? And like how he's like, couples have make love from time to time.
Semi-regular lovemaking. Oh, they make love on a semi-regular basis.
Yeah.
Also, I love... I'm going to leave Little Women here with you. Oh, you're reading that
Louisa
again?
May Alcott.
Louisa May is my guide. You know that. Which is a sentence I don't think anyone has ever said, even though they should have. That's like, we should not let a day go by.
He's
without
like the
expressing
smartest one
appreciation
in
for
the
that.
whole movie and has maybe 5 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
She's like, Karl Marx wrote one book. He's like, he actually wrote 20. Like, oh my gosh. He's that guy, you know?
Yes. Oh man, yeah, he's so good. And another one, like I said, it's just there's so many people in this show, and they're so good. It's impossible to like remember everyone at any given moment. Like, I will. Oh man, there's also some moments with Jessica Alba's character, who I'm trying to remember her actual name, Dixie
Melonsworth.
Melonsworth.
No.
Which like there's a like stretch of time in those episodes where her name is changing every time they're saying it, but they're all just different puns on breasts and stuff like that. Is and like she is. It's so funny because like her character has like these actual real moments and they're like these real scenes, but then that's just her name. Like she's like completely undercut by the name in a way that is.
She's a marine biologist.
Yes, she has a PhD. Although she apparently can't swim and hates water, which was a well-known fact.
He
Just
misses
makes
her
it
sharp
weird.
mind and her boobs.
Oh my gosh, it's so great.
You mentioned something about a high school.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody from high school.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the first board meeting of the Morehouse conglomerate, one of the men at the table, his name is Jack Urquhart.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Which
Got
is,
it.
yeah.
All right.
So it's just like on the nameplate, which is someone that we went to high school with, and that's like a weird enough name to me. Like it's not a name I hear very often, but it's hilarious to have it put in the context of someone on the board of a West Texas oil company. So I was like, that's really weird. But then also those names change every time those scenes take place. It's like the same actors with different nameplates in front of them, which is also really great.
Same old guys who've been there for however many decades we go through in this movie. They never change.
I like to imagine that just in world, they're forced to change their name every 5 or 6 years to protect themselves from like getting audited on their taxes or something. Like they reach a certain amount of money and then change their identities.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
That's it. That's
I
all
do
they
like when we cut to one of their meetings one time. They're just like,
And then it goes back to that after the scene is done. It's such like a good. Like, I feel like that's very high school acting, too. Like, okay, guys, like,
Yes.
like make lots of noises like you're arguing on stage.
But not too much
But
noise.
don't distract.
The acoustics are terrible in here. We have to hear the other people who aren't loud enough. So that's what we got to do. Yeah. What a delightful, delightful thing. Well, do we have anything else? Is there anything else that you guys are dying to bring up? I was I'm trying to find. I had some notes just on like some specific moments that just
giant wine glass was a hit.
Oh, yeah.
gosh,
And
yes.
now
an
she takes
oversized
a
wine glass.
sip
It's fun.
from it.
He's like,
Want
oh, you
some
need
more?
more? Or it's just like how much she drank out of it.
A tiny bottle. I love when she sets it down too, because like in a movie you would just set it down, but like they didn't prep anything for her. I'm sure on set. It's just like just really try and put this down in the sand without spilling it. Like,
Wine's like just almost
she's
going
like
over the
wiggling
edge.
it to get it into the sand. Like
Yeah, just like the idea that it behaves exactly like how you expect it to. Like, even though you didn't expect it to be in the scene at all.
I like how you mentioned that there's like throughout the whole thing, it feels like everybody's just right on the cusp of just losing it. And I think for me, the scene where I felt like that happened the most was the death scene at the end with Kristen
Yes.
Wiig. It looked like she was
When
like
he goes to kiss
the
her.
kiss at the very end. Like,
That-
she was trying so hard to hold a laugh in right there. And it was great that you could see that on her face.
yeah, it makes the scene even better.
It goes on again. It goes on longer than you
Yeah.
think or want it to, but then you're glad it did. Like,
And like he parts his lips a little bit
Yeah.
too much, and
Yeah.
like her mouth is a little bit open. It's too much.
I love to like the idea that even they've set this thing up for like 6 episodes, like him recording, which you're like kind of wondering what the payoff is going to be for that. Like the idea that he's only doing that because the Shah of Iran told him to go and do that, which is why he didn't go to presumably a hospital, but instead went to an office to record that entire story.
Go tell your story.
So he could go dance in heaven with Jonas and Cynthia. Just so good. There's the scene. I'm trying to remember what directly. I think it's right after Jonas dies when Cynthia and Devin are in the garden and they're talking and their accents are just getting more and more like
British.
Yeah, like weird, like poetic.
Southern gentlemanly or something.
And like his facial hair, their wigs and their facial hair, it feels like a different movie.
Yeah.
Which is
so
great.
Good. Yeah, because it's literally like every time it cuts, it's just like the next step towards like this British like garden party like drama. Like it's so insane. And that scene ends with her playing like strumming some stringed instrument. I don't even know if it's a guitar. It's like something not
like
that.
A lute or something, you know.
It's so good. But some of her lines too, like. Her calling Devin after his whole monologue at the grave is so good.
Devin.
Yeah, it's like such a. I feel like some of those things are so distinctly things that like no one else can do but Kristen Wiig. Like I don't think that anyone can sell those jokes as well. But her like when he leaves for war and her just scream that goes on for 30 seconds just
Devin, my love.
And then the other line I love from her is, "I will not be loved. I will not be loved." Oh, just like that scream is just so good. Like everything about it.
Kristen Wiig should have gotten like an Oscar just for her mouth in this show. Her mouth and the one eye that closes just a little bit. Like.
Which is funny. It's funny that she does play Lucille Bluth also in Arrested Development. She plays the young Lucille Bluth, and that's like such a Lucille Bluth thing. Like the one-eyed like. Gosh.
What I have to do to never have you never do that again.
Well, great. I loved this. I'm so glad we watched it. I'm probably gonna watch it again pretty soon. Like I loved it.
It gets
so much.
better the more you watch it because you notice things.
Yeah.
Like I this is my second time watching it today. You know, like I was always going the first 3 episodes are my favorite because they're just like, let's jump into this world, like let's go, like the inscription scene and everything. It just seems so good. Like the jokes are so solid, and then the last 3 are like, okay. But watching it again, I'm like, that slap fight between Kristen Wiig and Jessica Alba is like pretty intense.
I love it. It's just the same Foley you use for a fist fight, like just below a kung fu movie.
Yeah.
Like it's not quite like all the way into like just full on slapping a side of beef in a kung fu movie. But
Jessica Alba like loses a tooth.
yeah.
How many times are actually hit in that, like filming that?
Oh yeah, I love. There's also a moment where Kristen Wiig just ducks down and disappears, like completely fooling Jessica Alexander. So good. And just the end of that, when it just goes back, that's the other thing. Like they will build to these huge things, and then those moments are over, and it's just returning. It's just returning right to where the energy was directly before that happened. Like it's not like moving on from there at all.
That was wonderful.
Oh, it's so good.
I feel like there's a million lines you can always like say and moments, and it's like really hard to talk about and like explain to people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because we were talking about this before. It's like, and Tyler's brought it up is like the idea of trying to explain this to anyone. Like I was trying to tell my brother what this show is, and I'm like, it's like, it's got moments that are like Tim and Eric, but no, it's not at all like that. But it's really good.
Yeah. It's like really good. But also you have to be in the like right mood for
Right,
it.
yes.
It's like Dallas, that old show Dallas and
Right.
and Dynasty, like kind of jumbled up, and then they throw in Tobey Maguire and Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Like it's
like Dallas, but instead of commercial breaks, they just put in skits from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Sort of. It's just whatever. It's insane. But yeah, great. I need the closing.
Riley, what was
thoughts
your
on Spoils
favorite
of
part?
Babylon.
I think the slap fight was probably my favorite. It was good. It was a really good moment.
How would you rate that slap fight with other slap fights you've seen?
Probably like a 9.6.
Okay. I was gonna say on a scale
of-
from monkey slap fight night at the museum to a family reunion on the McKinley side.
Wow. So it's,
wow.
it's scale from fictional to real.
I think I make a lot of
real.
jokes about how dark my childhood was. Those are all jokes. Like my parents never abused me. These things don't really happen. They're just good jokes. Shut up.
it's funny. It's funny, you know.
It's hilarious. Dysfunction's
Oh,
great.
God.
But yeah, great. Well, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with some recommendations of other stuff we've been watching. See you on the other side. That's right. Now you hold your breath this entire time, or Santa won't come. Does anyone have recommendations? Do you have something you want to talk about, like you've watched or seen recently, or?
Oh gosh, come back to me.
You just
Okay.
watched this all week.
I just
6
watched-
times.
Actually, so I've been watching the Apple TV shows.
Oh, okay, cool. Hey, have you
think-
been watching any of those?
No, but I watched a trailer for one of them called like C last night.
Boy, I have so many thoughts about C.
Is it the Jason Momoa? one?
Yeah,
Yes,
it
the
is.
Jason Momoa one. And it's honestly, it's like, okay, somebody went to Apple and was like, you guys, post-apocalyptic, but everyone's blind.
Oh, fuck me.
and they're like, it's gonna be just as good as Game of Thrones, guys. I can see it. And they like are like, take all our money. And Jason Momoa's so great in it, and he's trying so hard. And it just has fallen flat for me.
that's a bummer.
Oh gosh, it's not a recommendation, I guess. Don't watch it.
That's the recommendation,
yeah,
baby.
don't
see.
there's this queen. So the world and sight is like bad, like because people
always
who
thought
can
that.
see have destroyed the world, and that's
Subtle metaphor.
That's like yeah. And it's like very religious, and this queen of the blind people has some wacky ideas about what praying is.
Okay.
She's like, let me pray. And then you just see her masturbate.
Oh no!
And you're like,
That is.
Oh, so
weird.
she's one of the Rajneesh from the Wild Wild Country.
Oh, yeah, that's. Oh gosh, we need to watch Wild Wild Country and talk about it. 'Cause holy shit, yeah,
So,
that's
yeah.
insane.
Not yet. Watch it.
I feel we'll let's just start. We've already started. I think we
I'm-
definitely need that
fine.
in there.
Need that.
Apple TV. So tell me this. This is the thing I think about streaming things at this point is like I'll subscribe if like you're just gonna drop all the episodes at once because that's how I want to
Yeah,
watch it.
that's-
Like I don't
want
want
a
to wait a week.
Netflix, yeah.
Is Apple TV like doing the week to week thing?
on some shows.
Okay.
On some shows. And other shows, it's like they drop all of it. But like the show I'm actually invested in, it's week to week, which is a little bit annoying.
And what is that? What one is that?
The morning show with Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, and like Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah, Reese
Oh, that's an
Witherspoon.
Apple TV thing?
And Steve Carell. Yeah, it's surprisingly really good.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, well, and it goes back to the Today Show with Matt Lauer and that whole thing that happened with the sexual misconduct and kind of exploring that and people who are part of the crew and like the environment, and was it a culture of the show, or was it, just this one bad apple? It's really good. I would recommend that one.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Yeah, I've seen like so much stuff for that. I remember seeing something for that and being like, holy shit, Apple's putting a lot of money into stuff.
Apple, I hope you're ready for this.
Yeah. Disney's coming, right?
Well, I mean,
Apple.
what else are they going to do with my $2,000 for that overpriced laptop, right?
That's a good point.
Well, and the subscription is only $5 a month.
Oh,
For
so
Apple
that
TV.
is
That's
much
not bad.
lower than
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, $14 or $12 or whatever. Like, I just signed up for Spotify Premium. Like, I can't do another subscription.
Yeah.
So, but Apple TV stuff, like, what I've seen looks really good.
The quality is really good for the price they're charging.
Yeah, that's really low. I didn't know it was that low. Cool. Any other Apple TV things you watched, or like things to avoid? Definitely.
I
C,
mean,
definitely don't see, right?
C.
Me in that email. So that was bad.
That
That's bad.
Someone's laughing.
Yeah.
I laughed.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
that's all
I'm
that
easy.
matters.
I'm an easy
honestly.
mark, though.
about 50-50,
Yeah, that's basically it. Apple TV, meh. Yeah, it's just okay.
Okay.
Get Disney Plus instead.
Yeah. Does anyone here have Disney Plus? Riley.
I have.
I just got it today.
You have
I
Disney Plus.
think I
love
do
it.
now. I can't go into details, but I think I do.
Is it your Christmas present? No.
I think we're sharing subscription with somebody else.
Good.
I was like, what is going on? I can't go into detail. I did give them my credit card information over the internet. I'm afraid if I say anything bad, they will revoke my membership.
I was thinking like the Sony app store or whatever game store. He's like, I can't get into it.
I've been trying to buy Death Stranding for the last hour. I think I just bought a year of Disney Plus.
Instead. So wow.
Well, yeah. What is like? What's your guys' experience with Disney Plus? I haven't like seen it at all, or even been in it. Really.
Have you watched any of the shows?
I watched a couple. I started the Imagineering one because they have they're doing like a docu-series about like Disney Imagineers and like building Disneyland and stuff. That's really interesting. But I started it when I was sick one day, and then I was like, I can't watch this right now because I was gonna fall asleep. So I'm gonna watch it again.
Noticed any like hiccups with it? Like,
Yes.
yeah, it pisses me off.
Yeah. There's.
Yeah, I heard it's been pretty rough. Like, there's a lot of like times when it just doesn't work.
Really?
It's like there's a scratch on your DVD or something. It just like
Yeah.
holds for a frame and then.
Oh, good.
Is it
That's the
because there's
nostalgia
so
I'm
many-
looking for.
So many people trying to watch it. Is that
But
what
it's
it
like
is?
on.
Probably.
I
They
noticed
suck.
it because I was watching Encore, and it's Kristen Bell's show, and
Oh.
they bring back like high school casts of plays and have them re-put on that play as adults, and it's painful, but I really enjoy it. But there's one part in it where she kind of like, it seemed like it was buffering, and then I watched that episode again with one of my friends last night because I was making her watch it, and it did it at the exact same spot.
So it
So
is
I wonder if it's
literally the
just in
DVD
the-
skip
That's
Yeah.
thing.
crazy.
That's
Yeah, it was really weird.
weird.
Yeah.
Disney's vault was not so
But-
secure, apparently.
We had a bit of flooding in the vault.
Before
Damaged
Fox
some
left,
film.
they went and scratched every disc just once that they're playing on the streaming service. That's the other thing Disney Plus doesn't tell you is every time you select something, there is an actual person pulling a DVD out of a case and putting it into the DVD player with your name on it, which is really it's a really
Figure out how
personal
Netflix was doing it.
Oh my god.
But it's not a person, it's just a little mouse. They're just like rolling DVDs around.
With red shorts.
that's how they're getting around the union. Anyways, yeah, okay. You pitched that show to me last night, that
I know.
Encore thing,
And I know that you can't watch it.
I can't stop thinking about it in a way that it like makes me sick to my stomach of like
Yeah.
the idea of doing a high school show.
High school show. If somebody asked me to redo a high school show that I was in, I no.
Man, what a nightmare! Holy shit! Thanks a lot, Disney.
They also have Lizzie McGuire.
Riley, you're
watch
watching
it.
a lot of Lizzie McGuire, right?
So much.
Okay, so another one that's on Disney Plus that I didn't know did you ever watch Return to Oz?
Yeah.
Oh, is that the one with Zoe Deschanel?
No.
No. That's Oz the Great
This
and
is
Powerful.
No,
this
that's
one
Tin
was
Man.
this
Oh,
is
Tin Man, yes.
Yeah, that's
Shit,
Tin Man.
holy
This
shit.
one was made in 1985.
Oh.
The
and
Wheeler. What do they call the Wheelers?
The Wheelies? The Wheelers.
Yes.
Watch it. Do an episode. I'll listen because I've actually watched the movie.
It is.
It is a wild ride, not unlike Spoils for Them.
Definitely like if you have kids who are like at the age that they'll remember everything, definitely now is the time to
Yeah.
show them Return to Oz.
I didn't know it was a Disney movie until I was like, oh,
Is it like horrifying?
it's a
Like,
little bit horrifying.
You should just Google,
Yeah.
YouTube Return to Oz Wheelers.
I mean,
And just know that as like a young child, I remember seeing that and just infiltrating my dreams in a way that it should not have.
because I mean,
Yeah.
immediately what I think of is in The Wiz. Actually, there's like tube monsters in the subway or something.
Oh.
Do you remember that?
I've never seen The Wiz.
Oh,
I'll be honest. I'm sorry.
yeah, that haunts me to this day.
Yeah.
Also, Michael Jackson's cry as the Scarecrow is kind of unnerving. It was to me as a
no.
child.
Well,
As you get older, it's like, it's him. But
As he gets older, it's kind of endearing. You know,
God, it's Michael.
Well, great. So Disney Plus, like, good, like, recommend so far. I mean, who?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like
I've only
in the minority of
watched
people
one
that-
episode of The Mandalorian.
Oh.
That's,
All right.
how?
Because it was earlier today, and I had other things to get done before today. My family
That
also had
makes
their
sense.
Thanksgiving tonight, so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I recommend it. As a Star Wars fan who's really bummed out with the way things have been going with Star Wars since the acquisition by the Mouse, it's not perfect. The thing that bothers me the most that's prevalent in all of Disney's Star Wars things right now is a lot of like talking down to and over explaining things and telling instead of showing. And this show still has that, unfortunately. And especially with this first episode, it would have been way cooler if they didn't. Like, this episode especially suffers from... It's not like a ton, like, over and over again throughout the episode. It's just the moments where they do it would have been a lot better for us to feel smart by figuring it out on our own as the show goes on.
I'm interested to hear these moments, like the moments you've noticed, because I've watched it. I'm not gonna, but I thought the opposite. Like, I thought, oh, they're really doing a good job with the showing.
There are a couple things where
So-
they don't, which is nice. I think my biggest gripe, honestly, is the first 5
bit?
minutes of the
Uh-huh.
show. Because something the Mandalorian does really well that Star Wars hasn't been able to recapture as much is getting actors who have a gravitas to them. That kind of makes it feel like Star Wars, because like that's what Alec Guinness and what is his name, Peter Cushing, brought to the original trilogy, and particularly the first one. And they got Werner Herzog, who is
which is amazing. I freaking love
who
that guy.
is fantastic in non-Werner Herzog ways. Like,
Interesting.
He's
not ta-
fantastic in anything he ever touches.
he's not talking about penguins bashing their heads against the rocks. He's doing his thing. And freaking, I can't remember the name of the other guy. Nick Nolte is
awesome
in it,
also.
and fantastic. Like, he brings a gravitas to that character. Taika Waititi's in it, and
Love that man.
not that he brings the gravitas, but his character is fantastic.
Yeah.
And his character is simultaneously like, he's not like the usual level of humor as Taika Waititi is, but he's like, he's kind of funny in that weird like non-emotional droid type of way. Oh yeah, he's a droid. And he's also simultaneously like really badass.
Cool.
Yeah.
And the guy, what's his name from Game of Thrones, is the main dude.
Pedro Pascal,
Yeah.
who plays Oberyn.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oberon,
Yeah, and
which
yeah.
makes me super happy.
yeah, it's really great. Honestly, like the first 5 minutes, I was like, I don't know, because like the actor they get to play like this alien is like a little too modern, doesn't have any sort of like weight to him, and I didn't like the pick for what his design is. I didn't like the performance matchup. But yeah, everything after that is like they go places. As a big Star Wars fan, it's fun to see things that have always been in the background and taken a back seat. I mean, Mandalorians in general, like
Right.
being brought to the forefront and exploring some of those. And there's a big twist at the end of the first episode that is really one of those things.
Which, like, I think if you have access to the internet, was just immediately spoiled.
Right.
Like I already knew.
It was spoiled for me before I saw it,
Yeah,
which pissed me off.
Which is fine. Like, it's one of those things. I'm like, I don't know. It's like, it's actually an exciting thing. Like the idea of them making a big choice like that.
Yeah.
That seems kind of stupid when presented on its own, but then hearing like positive things about it actually makes me more excited to watch it.
I think a lot of people are misinterpreting what that means.
Mm-hmm.
They think it's. I'm not even going to go into it.
Yeah.
But they're misreading it to think it's something that it's not. And I'm like, oh, the way you're thinking of it, that's stupid. Also, not possible. But the way that actually is actually really interesting.
Okay.
So yeah, I haven't watched. You've seen the second episode, just as good.
Oh my gosh! I think we all can say this is we were kind of getting tired of Star Wars. Like it was just becoming a little bit fatiguing.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited for this show. Like I want what the big twist is. I want one. I want and no spoilers and
I appreciate you walking. I can see
like,
you
really
looking
trying-
over the edge
I'm
into
trying to,
huge spoilers. I appreciate that you're
But
towing that
yeah,
line.
no, it's I love the second episode. I'm
Cool.
I'm sad they didn't drop the whole series at once. Like
I'm
honestly, that's Disney Plus. Come on.
It's a bad model. You're just making cable TV again, and we saw what happened to them.
Yeah.
Just give us all the shows. What am I going to do with my full day that I have of sitting in front of a TV now?
I'm so sad all the time, and the only thing that makes me happy is all the episodes of Mandalorian. Thank you, Disney Plus.
My psychiatrist told me normal drugs won't work. Only all the rest of the Mandalorian.
But anyway, yeah, as usual, I've taken up too much time on recommendations. But I have one more thing I'll just mention and we'll go into, which you might have already seen or know about. It's The Toys That Made Us on Netflix, which if you want to just a kick in the ass from nostalgia, they've got, I don't know, like 3 seasons now, 2 seasons? Mm-hmm. Your favorite toy from your childhood's probably on there. Go watch that episode, and you'll cry because you realize you're old and you're closer to death.
Oh,
But that's a docuseries
Yeah.
about like toys, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they just go through, and it's really fascinating because they go through like the whole behind the scenes of the toys, and most of them are like some cutthroat business decisions were made, and like some of them have like a dark side of their story of how like some of them came to be. A lot of them are like, here's this dude who didn't have a job who just like took a huge risk and like was laughed at out of several office buildings and like eventually found another loser company who was like, I'll take a risk on anything, and like
oh my god.
and then they became super successful. So it's like,
That's amazing.
but yeah, it's it's
The
interesting.
Toys That Made Us?
The Toys That Made Us. Yeah, it's like a little documentary.
And that's a Netflix one, right?
yeah. I watched the Ninja Turtles episode and the Power Rangers episode at like 1 in the morning.
Oh.
Shit.
And
You okay?
yeah,
Are you alright?
it hit me harder than it should have.
Oh,
I mean, that was
wow.
the same night I thought that scripted show was a documentary.
What a roller coaster of an evening you had.
But yeah, that's other than that, just still playing a lot of Death Stranding. Gonna
Oh, yeah.
shout out to that again.
Gosh, yeah. It's the best delivering boxes in a post-apocalyptic wasteland simulator I have ever seen. Ever. Play it. Justin, you should get it. a
trying to, damn it.
A callback to a time that no one will know. Justin, did you have anything to recommend this week?
I don't think I have anything new to talk about. The one thing have I ever mentioned Gloomhaven on? Have we talked about
we
it
haven't
on
talked about
this
it. No,
podcast?
no.
Okay, so Tyler Harris and I have been playing a board game now for a year and a half. I
Probably
think.
close to a year and a half.
The
And no, it's
same
not
game?
Risk.
Yes, it is the same game. There's a campaign mode that you play different scenarios each time you play.
So like the board changes every time. So there's just like
Yeah.
a bunch of pieces, and you like build a different board for whatever thing you choose to do.
Wait, what is it? What is
It's
it
called
called?
it's called Gloomhaven.
Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
Yes,
It comes in a
it's great.
box that weighs like 30 pounds, and it's got some pretty cool mini figurines in it that you can paint if you're into that kind of thing. I don't have the time to do it, but
We like the black and white version.
yeah.
Unpainted miniatures, just nostalgic.
But yeah, if you need a game, you can play it by yourself if you want. You can play in a party of up to 4 characters. Like I said, we've been playing pretty regularly. We've had a few breaks just because of life for about a year and a half, and it's a good time.
Yeah.
It's kind of become like a I don't know. It has been for quite a while. I think I look forward to every week, and it's just fun to get together and hang out. And there is a narrative to the campaign, but I could not honestly tell you what it is at this point because of how sporadic and weird our journey through this game has been. We've basically come up with our own story that is probably 10 times better than any story that it was actually written for the game anyways.
It is because it's like a fantasy thing, and it's not like a role playing thing at all. But we kind of do that anyways, just because it's stupid and fun. But just some of the things that we've done in the game is we overthrew the government and replaced it with a skeletal army. Right?
Yeah,
that was the first thing.
Is
that the first? I'm trying to.
I think that was the undead.
Yeah, the undead were ruling the town for a while.
As
and,
you do.
It's fine, yeah. And then later we had the option to overthrow them, so we were like, this is kind of our thing. So we did that, and then demons ran the town for a while. And then we finally were like, you know what, let's just press the reset button. So we did. And that's been the journey over the last year and a half. It's a lot like what we're trying to do in real life right now, which is overthrow the government, replace with something
But
better.
you've never run the town as your characters have never.
I
run
don't
the
really
town?
think that's in our cards, yeah.
You just kind of push through these
Just
other
kind of
parties.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Kind of that.
Interesting.
And then and then
You
we go
change
on to
characters as
fucking
well.
So there's
character-
how many characters are there? Like 16 or
I
can't
think
remember,
so,
something like
yeah.
that.
And you could there's a bunch of little boxes that you open up that have new characters in them that you don't know anything about until you've actually unlocked them in the game.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
That's the other
it's
thing. There's so
really
many,
cool.
There's so many boxes in there that you've had this game for so long, and there's so many unopened things still in the box that we won't open until we get to the end of something in the book. We'll say, okay, pop open this envelope that has
How big
something
is
in it.
the instruction pamphlet? Is
It's
it like a book?
spiral bound. Yeah. It's big.
There's the actual rule book itself that contains all the rules that you need to know, and that's probably 30 pages long. And then there's the scenario book that contains all of the different scenarios that you go through whenever you play the game, and that has, I think, about 100 different scenarios that you play through.
Yeah, it's really fun though, and it's been going on sale on Amazon pretty frequently over the last.
I think
little while,
they just recently announced it's either the next big expansion or the sequel, which is supposed to be another as big as the original campaign and everything. Probably costs $100 or so, $150 to get the second one.
Yeah.
But well worth it for a year and a half of gameplay and counting.
Yeah, for sure. It's super fun. Cool. Yeah, man, I'm trying to think of what I watched this week. I have been watching, I've continued to watch the Alien movies since we went and saw Alien in theaters, and I've just been going back through those. I forgot Charles Dance is in Alien 3.
Is he really? I haven't seen Alien.
Yeah. I'll say it, the worst Alien, but Charles Dance is pretty good. And Sigourney Weaver's great in all of them, but man, that's a bad Alien. David Fincher and that studio, I don't know. I'm not going to say it's David Fincher's fault, but it's just
David
more
Fincher's
fun to
fault.
say. Yeah,
I want
it's
to be
more
careful
fun
about
to
saying names tonight.
Bleep that out.
Yeah, could you flip that out? Make it sound like I'm saying David Lynch. Anyways, but yeah, so I've been watching those, and they're really good. And also, I've been watching the director's cuts of a lot of them, which I don't normally do because I think sometimes director's cuts are dumb and they're not that different. But the Alien movies in particular, the director's cuts are markedly better than the originals, I think. And both Alien and Aliens are really great movies, but I think the director's cuts are just super fun. So I've been watching those. Always recommend Alien. It's very good. And then this is the only other thing I've been watching this week. So there are like 2 streaming services that have launched recently, and I just didn't get either of them. And instead, I'm watching The Larry Sanders Show again, which is Gary Shandling's HBO
This is
sitcom.
like the 4th time you've watched it?
This is like my go-to for a long time. And I will say this: you don't need to go watch all. My journey to the Larry Sanders Show was weird, and I like it for weird reasons. But definitely go and YouTube Rip Torn, just the best Rip Torn moments from the Larry Sanders Show. Because I think prior to this, the only thing I'd really seen Rip Torn in was Men in Black as Agent Z, Agent Z, Zed. Zed. And he is the producer of like this fake late night talk show, and he is just an absolute joy to behold. So go check that out. But yeah, that's all I have. I don't really have anything else for recommendations. So, but we'll go ahead and close out. I did forget to mention earlier. Next week, we're going to have Dan Anderson on, and we're going to be talking about The Haunting of Hill House. Did I say the name of that correctly?
You did.
The Haunting of Hill House, the Netflix series. And I'm very excited about it. I still haven't finished it. It was like one that I started a long time ago and started at the wrong point in my life because I was so busy. And now I'm really glad to have an excuse to get back to it and finish it. And it's been really good so far. So I'm excited to watch it. But yeah, so we'll plan on that next week. If you want to reach out to us, you can email us at rewatchersonthepod@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Our handle is @rewatcherspod. And signing off, this is Tyler Harris.
Tyler McKinley.
Riley Harris.
Justin Hammer.
And
Emma Robinson.
thanks. When the wine is gone, it's time to go. That's the rule. That's all. That's the end.
Is the wine gone?
The wine all gone.
Ready.